All right. Well, good morning, everyone. Welcome to the Cash Monthly Membership Meeting in the online format. I'm Jeff Becker. I'm your Cash Chair, and pleased to be with you and welcome. If you are a first-time attendee coming into the Zoom room, feel free to introduce yourself in the chat box. Everyone, as a reminder, everyone is muted, but you can enter questions and comments in that chat. So again, first time folks or new folks, please say hello in there. Make sure that you're using the drop down caret to message everyone so that we all see that. And just a reminder in the chat box that it's for questions and comments from members, but please refrain from any marketing in that forum. So take us to the next slide, please, Courtney. We have a happy hour / networking mixer coming up on Thursday, next Thursday. It's the 29th in Sacramento from 5 to 8. And it sounds like a lot of fun at the Punch Bowl Social Holiday Lodge. I hear that they have bowling and billiards and darts and ping pong. I heard something about axe throwing, but I'm not sure about that. But it sounds like it's going to be a good time. So if you're in the Sacramento area, put that on your calendar. Please send an RSVP to Tessa Nelson, and you see her email on the slide there in front of you. Should be a good time and a great informal way to get together with other Cash members and talk shop or not talk shop and just have a nice time together. All right, next slide, please. Also coming up is our fall conference in Newport Beach at the Hyatt Regency on the 12th to the 14th. And this year we've expanded the pre-conference workshop on Wednesday to include more professional development. We heard from you at the annual conference that was really well received. So we added that for the fall conference as well. So please visit the Cash website. Check that out, register, and you can find all the information that you need there. All right, and now we'll jump into our state agency updates, and we have with us Michael Watanabe from OPSC. Michael, thanks for being with us this morning. I'll turn it over to you.
Thanks. Good morning, everyone. All right, a few updates today. First reminder, our board meetings today at 4 p.m. It is via Zoom. In the EO statement today, just a few updates. The fall general obligation bond sale occurred this month. It should have closed yesterday. We've already received word from the treasurer's office that everything we asked for, we got in terms of cash from the bond sale. So everyone that participated in the May-June 2022 priority funding certification round for fall bond sale proceeds should be funded. We intend to take those projects next month to the October board for apportionment. And then everyone will have 90 days to submit their fund release requests. Highlighting the full day kindergarten, we did receive 417 apps for over 1.5 billion in requests. So we were oversubscribed, which means we had to go by preference points. We got a couple of questions. This month, we are taking 11 projects for 33.7 million, not the full, I believe it was like 225 million or so for this round. The rest of the projects will probably go in October. Because it's preference point based, we actually need to confirm that everybody qualifies for financial hardship to get those 40 preference points. If they don't, they move down the list, and then we have to process the next project in line. Well, over the course of the summer, we've been sending out nonstop letters, verifying as many as we can. These were 11 that made it to September. So the rest we hope to trickle over to October. So that's why the smaller dollar amount, but we are continuing to process those. We're not done yet. And then lastly, from the EO, OPSC, DSA, CDE held a joint workshop last week or 2 weeks ago with CAL FIRE and Green Schoolyards. We had a case study from Fairfield Sassoon about how to build sustainable facilities, outdoor grounds, and then how to fund them. That workshop is available on our website under the meetings page if you'd like to watch that, and also on OPSC's YouTube site. And then the next board meeting is going to be October 26th at 4 p.m. via Zoom as well. In the action items section, we have our proposed reg changes for the full day kindergarten program. AB 181 added the ability for community colleges to participate in the full day kindergarten, preschool transitional kindergarten, full day kindergarten program to allow community colleges to apply for grants for preschool projects. So these regulations, what they do is add community colleges to the definitions of a school district for purposes of those preschool grants. We did amend the AB 181 also added 100 million to the program. So we intend to give that out as part of the fourth round as also. Given our experience with this third round and the large volume of applications, we are also proposing the board slide up that round. In January, we had proposed in April through a month of April filing round in 2023. But we think if we move it up 2 months to February 1st through March 2nd, it'll give us more time to process more applications, especially with the extra 100 million available to us. So we are building that into the regs as well. And we are accounting for future use of funds. So those are the main changes in the regs this month. One of the things we missed back in January is statute prohibits the ability for a school district to appeal to the board under other evidence for financial hardship criteria to get those preference points. So we fixed that reference in our regulations, and COEs was inadvertently omitted from the qualifying criteria in the regulations. So we put that back in to the criteria as well. So that's in the proposed regs for this month. And then we have a direct apportionment item. We kind of mentioned last month, we had intended to present this at the August board, but we got some late stakeholder feedback with concerns about our proposal to forego date order temporarily for 4 to 6 months. We went back and looked at what we could do about that to see if we could maintain it. We talked to the state agencies and finance and treasurer's office to see, can we use the general fund proceeds allocated in 22-23 to fund projects right away without leaving the money from the spring general obligation bond sale on the table. So we worked with them and they'll be okay with that again this year. So normally we rely on our November, December certs and tell the treasurer how much cash we want from the spring bond sale. Instead of doing that, we'll just say, we'll give them a blanket amount. We don't tie any projects to it. We just say, give us the cash, we'll get rid of it. They'll be okay with that again this year because we know once these regs are approved, when the spring bond sale hits, we'll start giving that out as direct apportionments as well, following that in the June, July, August summer meetings, following the bond sale. So it won't sit there, which is their biggest concern. So they're okay with that. Take a look at the item on stat page 197. We kind of bucketed the list of projects depending on where you fall. Everyone who participated in the May, June priority funding will get processed under a normal priority funding apportionments next month. So you'll have 90 days to participate. But everyone else kind of has options that haven't been to the board yet. So the people who didn't participate in May to June, they have a choice. They could have taken, they can take expedited apportionments in October or December, or they can do normal priority funding. The same thing is true with those June and August approvals. They have options for October, December apportionments or normal PIF because these regs aren't in place yet. Anyone being presented at tonight's board will have the option for October and December. New unfunded approvals in October will have the option for expedited apportionments in December. And then we expect these regs to be approved by before well, it's now, it looks like it's moving, but before the normal December board, those ones will all be direct apportionments. We expect these regs to be approved by late October or early November in time to do direct apportionments in December. So what that means is anybody getting approvals that we're working on right now in December or later, you'll be following these new rules. So if you're not a financial hardship project, you'll have 180 days to submit a fund release request. And if you're a financial hardship project, you'll have 365 days. If you miss those deadlines, then you'll be rescinded and we move on to the next projects in line for processing. So those are the proposed regs. No, it maintains date order with options for school districts to get expedited apportionment under the regs the board approved last January for the 250 million. All right. And then two other non-board related updates. We are continuing to work on the facility inspection tool for improvements to the web-based form. We've gotten some more feedback from stakeholders. We're still building on that and working on that. In parallel, in meeting with cash representatives and a few other stakeholders, we are exploring the ability to send out the Excel version of the Fit It Well. We've heard feedback that the Excel version is a little more valuable and useful for school districts for what you use it for. after it's completed in terms of populating other documents. So we're working on it. We are fortunate to figure out that Adrian programmed the original form 10 years ago to add all those fancy macros. So he's been working on the current version to insert rows for you and to auto calculate all the calculations on the summary sheet for you. So we are working on that. We're still working on testing for that. I don't anticipate it being done for at least another month, but we will work on that. And then we'll also look at how we can make that more ADA compliant so that we can just straight up post it onto our website. But absent that, we'll still continue it to email it out by request as well. So more to come on that one. And then lastly, OPSA Online update. We expect release 17 to come out next Wednesday, the 28th. It's another big release. It'll allow you to submit the entire financial hardship requests through OPSA Online. So your phase 1, phase 2 checklist through some wizard modules. It'll allow you to track your submittals, track your 6-month approval windows, track which phases you have and have not submitted, including all your document uploads. So I believe that's the last piece of an entire application package that wasn't paperless. So with that release next week, it'll be entirely paperless. So we intend to, after that goes live, we intend to host some virtual trainings like we did previously. We'll update the online desk manual to walk through those processes. So we're kind of excited about that. So another big release for OPSA Online. And with that, that's all I have for today.
All right, I appreciate the update, Michael, and taking the time. Thank you again for responding to the group on the FIT and looking at that spreadsheet. Looking forward to that. That'll be a helpful document, and appreciate all your work. And I'll let you get back to a busy SAB board day.
Yeah, we'll see you all tonight.
All right, thanks a lot,
Thanks.
Michael. All right, so next up, we have our legislative update. We have with us, of course, Ian Padilla and Rebecca Curley, our cash legislative advocates. Not sure which one of you is going to go first. Rebecca, I see you popped up there, so I'm going to assume it's you. Welcome, Rebecca. Good to see you.
Thank you, Jeff. Good morning, everyone. I'll start it off and then kick it over to Ian to talk a little bit more about legislation. Just generally, we're at the end of the legislative session where the legislature has finished their work. They sent the governor hundreds of bills at the end of August, and now the governor has until the 30th, so that's next week, to act on final bills. And one of the things that we're seeing is that he has a consistent veto message that's coming out when he is vetoing bills that cost money that were not considered as part of the budget process. So he has really planted a flag and said the state needs to remain disciplined when it comes to spending, and in particular ongoing spending, that revenues in the first couple of months of this fiscal year have come in a little bit lower than was anticipated. And so if the legislature has a wish list of things, they need to go through the budget process and not come to him through onesie twosie bills. The governor's standard veto message here is saying that the legislature sent over $20 billion in one-time spending to him in bills at the end of the session and $10 billion in ongoing commitments. So we're certainly going to see more vetoes as in these last final days. As far as our November election, all of those assembly seats are up. They run and campaign every 2 years, and we've got a number of senators who are termed out. So this is a really interesting year because of redistricting that occurred as a result of the 2020 census. We've got about a quarter of the legislators in the assembly who will be brand new after this election, and about a third, almost a third of our senators will be brand new. So this is really going to impact the way that we do work in Sacramento, and heighten the importance of making those relationships, making those connections with the folks that represent you in your local community. So we will talk more about that at the CASH Fall Conference. Definitely come. The political landscape is really fascinating right now, and we'll talk more about that in our legislative update. I just wanted to mention really briefly on some of those items on the state allocation board agenda today. Do want to thank the Office of Public School Construction for working with CASH to address some concerns that we raised on the direct apportionments item. We were concerned with the prior proposal that would have seen some general funded projects that receive those direct apportionments, receiving cash before those that were bond funded, even though they had been submitted later to OPSC. So we absolutely appreciate OPSC working to find a resolution to maintain processing and funding in date order so that districts have certainty about when they can expect cash. We were also concerned that funding out of date order would have a bigger impact on those that are not reimbursement projects. So projects that need the cash in order to move forward in this cost escalation environment, that just maintaining the integrity of that processing and funding is really important so that projects are not disadvantaged when compared to their neighbor projects. So very much appreciate that. And then on transitional kindergarten, I know there's a lot of activity on the board agenda today with those first apportionments, with the regulations being updated. We will be talking more about TK at the CASH Fall Conference as well. There are a number of sessions throughout the conference. So come to learn about planning, funding, and everything that's happening with tiny toilets. And you might just get to see some photos of TK kiddos in action. Some of our panelists are going to try to feature our kiddos in their TK environment. So we're excited to share that with you at the Fall Conference and to talk about what's coming. You know, CASH had asked for $2 billion for TK facilities. And over this 3-year period with the expanded TK preschool full day kindergarten program, the legislature has committed over $1 billion. So it's not quite what CASH was asking for, but it's also not just a drop in the bucket. And we're really excited to see those apportionments and to start getting those funds out so that these projects can be built for those kiddos that are actually coming on site this year in fiscal year 22-23. So just to pivot a little bit, I did want to mention one bill that we're still waiting for a final action on, and that is AB 902, but it's not AB 902 anymore. So this is our progressive design build authorization for K-12 schools. The language in the bill calls it alternative design build. It authorizes open book procurement, allows you to select your design build entity through a best value procurement, and then to negotiate your guaranteed maximum price and set it a little bit later in that design process. So some flexibility there in design build. This was a really, really fascinating end of session situation. I believe that I reported at our last CASH monthly membership meeting that bill had died on Assembly Appropriations suspense file. Sorry, Senate Appropriations suspense file. And that did occur. If you look that bill up today, it is dead, not moving. But in an end of session twist, the language that was in AB 902 got added to an end of session education budget trailer bill, AB 185. So exactly word for word, what was in AB 902 got placed into this new bill. And that bill was passed by the legislature and is waiting for the governor's action. This bill is sponsored by the Los Angeles Unified School District, and they did a lot of work to try and get that bill essentially reintroduced in this education trailer bill. So we'll keep you posted on that. We're going to talk a little bit more at the CASH Fall Conference about that. We'll know the outcome at that time and some of the palace intrigue. Don't want to give it all away, but there's a really interesting story here that we'll talk a little bit more about at the CASH Fall. So with that, I am going to pass it on to my colleague, Ian. And there he is. Hi, Ian. And let me know if you've got any questions in the chat, and I'd be happy to pop back on and answer those once Ian's done. Thank you.
Thank you, Rebecca. Appreciate it. So yes, that was a nice setup. We're in the process as legislative advocates of kind of, waiting this last time to see what survives the final process and what doesn't, as Rebecca indicated. So continuing the theme, of course, Rebecca and I and some of our other advocates at the Fall Conference will get much more into these bills, and we'll know much more about them. So definitely that's the way to know more and engage with us about it. But one bill I did want to, I'm going to talk to you about a couple of bills that'll give you a sense of them. One should be familiar to our members, hopefully, and that's SB 1144. and that has to do with requiring schools to do water assessments, all schools. And it's quite a bit more involved than that, and there's a lot of questions about the bill. The definition of how many parts per million or billion you might use to meet some of the standards, how you're going to fund these pieces. There's no funding in this bill. That's one of the major issues that we've had. We have been fortunate to be able to work with some of the other primary educational organizations, CSBA, AXA, CASBO. Who else do we have here? Los Angeles Unified School District, Riverside County Office of Education. We've basically put our energies together and are continuing to oppose this bill because basically we don't really see the exact problem that it's solving. And certainly we're concerned about the fact that there's no funding associated with that. So we're waiting anxiously to see the fate of that bill. I will say it's had a lot of momentum so far. So that might give you a sense of maybe where this bill ends up. Whatever happens, the issue of water quality will continue, in particular, I think next year to be a big one. And I would say, again, because it's not something new to schools, but I would say for those of you that are aware, and most people should, about AB 746 and some of the testing and pieces there done under that, this bill will be beyond that. So that's why we're concerned about it. We want to make sure, as usual, that we're able to address water quality issues that schools do identify. And so we're looking forward to, should the bill pass, to working with the State Water Resources Control Board. A lot of the issues, almost all the issues will be answered, will be hashed out in that more kind of detailed in the weeds implementation of the bill. So again, it hasn't passed yet, but if it does, we will definitely have some influence, I think, in how that turns out, because that's where it will be turned into a program. So keep your ears and eyes peeled for that, as well as for water quality in general. So another bill I wanted to tell you about is AB, 2446 by Holden. And that has to do with this issue a lot of folks have heard about captured carbon in building materials. So we've seen bills related, for instance, to cement in the last few years. We know that the Building Standards Commission, DSA, has been wrangling with this issue in general. It's part of the Green Code. So this bill requires the Air Resources Board to, I'm going to read this, develop a framework for measuring and reducing average carbon intensity of building materials used and what can be done about that. So that obviously is a concern to our membership. We've done some work on it to push the dates out as to when that is due. And we were successful on that. So we didn't have a position on it. We didn't support it, but as much as anything else, it's the issue of captured carbon in building materials is something you'll see more likely in legislation, as well as being discussed by state agencies in terms of implementing policy. So that's just as much as anything, it's to put a pin in this issue in this bill. And of course, we'll deconstruct the bill and have more about it at the fall conference. But it's definitely one to keep an eye on. So. Just finishing up my piece here, I did want to also thank Mr. Watanabe for working with cash maintenance and cash folks and county offices on the FIT tool. You know, we're really just trying to make it available. As we know, folks, county offices have started their inspections, or at least planning and so on, in early July. So we appreciate working with OPSC to get that Excel version of the FIT, and of course a complete one. And you heard Mr. Watanabe talking about the macros and so on. So it looks just like the forms you've used before, except it'll be complete and capture some of the new issues that are optional, but allow you to report in the new fit. For instance, custodial staffing ratios, square footage. There's some things to take a look at in there. And so again, we appreciate working with Mike on that. So thank you very much. That's the end of my presentation here. I don't know, do I have one coming up on the next?
Yeah, Ian, thank you for that presentation and the good teases for the fall conference, and particularly interested, if we do see a lot of bills vetoed that had a cost, and how that changes the dynamics of how we create policy going forward, if we're going to push even more into the budget bills and less through the policy work of the legislature. So thanks for that to both you and Rebecca. And then I think you are up next with the School Energy Coalition.
Yes. Yeah, that's, of course, School Energy Coalition is doing much the same. The work they've done on the budget. There's some pieces in there as well as bills waiting around just to see, of course, what happens with them. And then the NEAM 3.0, continuing to stay engaged in that. Nothing new, but that's we've talked about that before. Another big issue. The last one on School Energy Coalition, and I think it kind of leads into my report on the CSF, is that there's the Inflation Reduction Act, as you know, that was approved. And I would say the School Energy Coalition, we're unpacking what that means. Basically, what funding is available for energy and related issues, right? Storage, EV charging, all the issues that that we talk to you constantly about. So I was actually able to participate in a webinar yesterday where they're starting to unpack what the Inflation Reduction Act what kind of opportunities it will present. Obviously, we're early in the process. It has to be developed by the agencies, but I would say the scope and scale of funding is significant. And it definitely appears that schools can participate. So there'll be a lot there, much like we dove into ARA and so on. We'll definitely be doing this because a lot of it is the same issues that we've been talking about for 5 or 6 years now. Upgrade ventilation systems, water systems, which I've just talked about, energy, resiliency, health and safety, pieces like that, as well as other pieces, and we'll see what they are. But there's a lot. It's worth digging down on it, and we're definitely doing that at the School Energy Coalition, focused, of course, on the energy piece. There's a lot on that. I mean, it's in the name to some. Well, actually, it's not in the name, but it's in the bill. So. Anyway, that concludes my School Energy Coalition piece. Is there also a CSF or?
There is, Ian, and maybe before you jump into that, we got a question that came in from David regarding the FIT. And if there are any requirements to make the FIT staffing ratios and that data available to the public.
Yes, that's a very good question. That's, as Jeff knows, a little smile there, one of the primary questions we posed in when this document update was being developed. The answer is officially no. Again, these new pieces are new opportunities to report the square footage, but particularly the staffing ratios are optional, and that's made clear. That said, as we've talked about a little bit, when you have information, it tends to become available, right? And so just watch that dynamic, I would say. And that's, but no, all the new pieces are optional, and to their credit, OPSC made that clear, through their process as well as on their form. So, but it's a very good question, and it's an issue to continue to take a close look at as we, get through more years of this with the new form.
Yeah, good comments there. I agree 100%, Ian. So moving on, we are seeing a couple other comments. Frank commented it's a public document, and it certainly would be subject to a PRA request. Whether or not you actually collected that data, because it is optional right now, would be, I guess, the criteria there. But
right. That's
I
and
don't
that's a
believe you
very
would be,
good.
if
Go ahead.
you didn't collect it, you wouldn't be required to do so by a Public Record Act request, because that wouldn't be a record that you would have.
I
So,
think that's very well put. And as we know, there's a lot of transition going on with the new form. So I
Yeah.
think that wouldn't be, excuse me, unreasonable for a variety of reasons. But
Yeah.
yes, thank you, Frank. I saw that come by, and that's very good comments.
yeah, certainly something to watch. So why don't we move, Ian? We do have time for California for school facilities update.
Sure, absolutely. I think I gave the one last time. It was brief. This one will be brief, but we CSF was heading out to DC, of course, to do what we do, meet with the Treasury, meet with members, and so on. But as you know, the congressional schedule's a little bit unstable sometimes, so they've canceled that trip, and they're looking in the next few months, I believe, to schedule another one, because they're going to be going out here pretty soon, to go back out and follow up on the federal issues. There's a lot of them. We've talked a little bit about them already. I have, but in particular, the omnibus appropriations bill. That's one in particular. Probably after November, probably when things are going to get done. If I'm honest, folks are going home to spend time in their districts. So not a whole lot's probably going to happen until after November 6th or whenever the election is. So there's that. But of course, and I've already talked a little bit about the Inflation Reduction Act. Certainly, those are pieces where they'll be talking to the Treasury about that. The US EPA. I was talking to Dave Walrath about it. A lot of these things these federal agencies, these are federal programs, of course. And so as they're developed, it will behoove us to hear a California voice, certainly a California voice focused on school facilities. So that's really what CFS will be focusing on in the fall and going forward. So actually a lot because there's so much going on back east. So, and that concludes. Thank you very much.
All right, thank you very much, Ian.
Sure.
To have you with us. Well, we talked a little bit about the fall conference coming up in a couple of weeks, but the annual conference is just right behind that. So Alan Rising, our vice chair, why don't you give us an update on the preparation for the annual conference?
Great. Thank you, Jeff. Yeah, just putting it on everybody's calendar, making sure that if you haven't put this on your calendar, that you do so right away. Our 44th annual conference on school facilities is coming up at the end of February 22nd through the 24th in Sacramento, where we will be returning to the Sacramento Safe Credit Union, newly renovated facility that we enjoyed last year. It's a great opportunity. Registration is open for the conference. All of our great workshops have already been settled on, and all of our moderators and panelists are busily working to develop all that great instructional professional development opportunities that are available out there. This year, which is a slight difference, we've listened to some of the comments from our attendees, and we will be including the first day, the 22nd, there will be a host of professional development opportunities available for individuals coming into our organization, or individuals just want to know more about how they can develop themselves personally. So look at that when you get our conference brochure. The conference brochure will be made available at the fall conference at the middle of October. So that will be coming out, and we'll be rapidly moving through the last minute preparations as we get ready for this great conference. So if you're not already scheduled to be there, please jump online, go to our CASH website and register for that event. Information on hotel arrangements, everything else is available for you so that you can begin to make those arrangements. So looking forward to meeting everybody there at the conference as we enjoy a great opportunity to get back together. So with that, I think I'll turn it back over to Jeff.
All right, thanks a lot for that, Alan. Great work to you and the planning committee and staff on that. I know that's a big lift and always is a great conference. So why don't we move up to the next slide, which is our job exchange and people's choice. And just a reminder to you, if you have an RFQ or an RFP or a job opening at your district or firm, please utilize the CASH website and the Professional Opportunities Job Board to post those, and you can reach a much broader audience of folks that are really in the arena that you're looking to reach. You see some of the current listings there, so it's a great opportunity. And again, you can log into the CASH website and post your RFQ or RFP there. And feel free, if you do happen to have one that's not listed yet, you want to get a jump start, you can drop that in the chat and reach the group that's with us here today. So a good resource, want to make sure it's available to everybody. And if you could move us to the last slide, please. So our next CASH day scheduled for Wednesday, October 26th, 11 to 12:15. So please put that on your calendars, and we'll monitor the SAB dates to stay consistent with aligning with that, and look forward to seeing everybody on the October 26th date. Thank you everyone for being with us. We'll wrap up a few minutes early here today, so we'll give you the gift of time. Thank you again for joining us and being with us here, and have a great day.
Great. Have a great day, everyone. Thank you.